Welcome to the Mama Time podcast, where we dive into all things wellness to support and empower you on your journey through pregnancy and motherhood. I'm Charlotte, your host, a proud mama of 3 and a pre- and postnatal yoga teacher. My mission is simple, to help mothers like you feel your best. In this podcast, I'll share practical tools, heartfelt stories, and nurturing practices to help you reconnect with yourself through the ever-changing seasons of motherhood. Because while you're busy caring for everyone else, I'm here to remind you of something so important. You matter too. You are worthy of prioritizing your well-being, and when you do, it creates a ripple effect that transforms not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Along with sharing my own experiences and resources, I'll be chatting with inspiring fellow mamas who are passionate about supporting other women. Together, we'll have honest, heart-centered conversations about their journeys and the transformative tools they rely on to thrive in motherhood so you can thrive too. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into today's episode. Are you ready? Hello and welcome back to Mama Time. Today on the show, we have the wonderful Monique Bathis, who is a mentor for overwhelmed mothers and helps moms go from rage to radiance and feel good in motherhood. She does this through so many interesting modalities that she's trained in, which we'll discuss in the episode. And she also shares her own motherhood journey with us, which led her to doing all of this beautiful work. There's so many great insights and takeaways in this episode for you for how you can become more connected to yourself and your body, to come back to your wisdom, intuition, and confidence as a mother. I'm so excited to share this conversation with you. I know you will love it. Let's get into it. So welcome to the podcast, Monique. I'm so excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, I want to start with the many hats you wear. So you are a registered music therapist, a feminine body coach, a women's circle facilitator, and the podcast host of Beyond Motherhood and a mentor for overwhelmed mothers. So you wear a lot of hats. You do a lot of incredible work in this space with mothers, but I would love to hear a little bit about your journey through motherhood and how you became the woman that you are now, wearing all these hats and helping so many mothers.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been a mum for nearly 11 years. My eldest turns 11 in May and my youngest turns 5 in July. So over a decade of motherhood now. And it's interesting because in terms of motherhood, things were fairly smooth sailing until I fell pregnant with my second son. And, you know, there's 6 years age gap between my kids. So when I fell pregnant with my youngest, I started to notice my eldest exhibit some behaviors and was just a bit more, I guess, vocal about things. And I started to really notice at that point, which I hadn't so much prior to that, my triggers and my own dysregulation with him being dysregulated. And I kind of started to go down the route of looking into nervous system regulation, and which I knew a little bit about, of course, but it just started to, I guess, highlight itself a little bit more because of my own personal experience. And I'd been a music therapist for many years. I knew the power of music in supporting our emotional regulation and how powerful and emotive music is. But from, I guess, my own research and just diving into different things, I've just found a really big interest in nervous system regulation and then somatics, and it kind of just filtered through from there. And when my youngest was born, which was during the pandemic, and even just as we moved through transitioning to 2 kids, it's a whole different dynamic.
It is, course. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I really started to become highly aware of my own triggers to my children's behaviors and things, and kids acting out. Like my son was very jealous of his brother, still is. And it kind of just put me onto this journey of really starting to connect a bit deeper with myself, starting to understand myself a lot more, my conditioning, my own nervous system defaults, and it kind of led me into this path of supporting mothers and that journey into what I'm doing now. I've started to realize that so many mothers, we're just so overwhelmed, and we live in such a world at the moment, well, in our modern lives, that we're busy, and that's just the way our society is. And we live in a very hyper masculine society where it's all about the hustle and the go, and that real, that always having to do something energy. And it really does put mothers in a bit of a predicament, because it can make it really difficult to step back and just to be in our own flow and be in our feminine, to even just prioritize ourselves. And through, I guess, my own journey of reconnecting to myself, and now I'm almost finished my feminine embodiment certification, which has been amazing, deepening my own practice into the feminine, and just supporting mothers even more down that way of how they can start to reconnect with themselves more, prioritize themselves, find more joy in motherhood and life, instead of just feeling like stressed and overwhelmed and snapping and constantly just in this survival mode, really. So that's kind of what led me into the path of working with mothers and supporting them. And within that, I do draw on a lot of my music therapy background in how I use a lot of mantras, particularly when we sing mantras or vocalize them in that more musical way, how it can be a really supportive nervous system regulation tool as well. So I do draw on different modalities, I suppose, in how I can support mothers to not only starting to, I guess, rewire and support their own nervous system regulation, but to, finding that joy in motherhood and as a woman, and reclaiming themselves again.
All of that sounds so beautiful. I love the work that you're doing. For someone who doesn't know much about feminine embodiment, what does that mean to you? Like, how would you describe that?
In a nutshell, for me, it's really about just coming home to the body and starting to become more intimate with our own internal landscape and our own wisdom, as that we are often so disconnected from, because we live so much in our heads, and as a society we do. And so many of us, even including myself, are so disconnected from our bodies. And I mean, I wouldn't say I am as much now because I've done a lot of work in reconnecting. But, for me, I used to, and I still catch myself, but because I've got the more awareness now, like, we numb, we distract ourselves from feeling our feelings. Like, we do everything we can to avoid them, and we operate in our head. So it's really just about how we can start to come back into our body, start to reconnect with the wisdom of our body, or our intuition, or whatever you want to call it, and be more in flow in life, instead of being go. I like to think masculine's like the go, and feminine's more the flow.
Yes, that's such a beautiful way to describe it.
Yeah, and there's many different ways and tools within the feminine embodiment coaching framework that I use to support mothers and support women. But essentially, it's just about coming back home to our bodies and reconnecting with ourselves in that deeper level.
What are some of your favorite ways to do that?
I do a lot of movement practices, and that's all part of it as well, how we can, move our bodies in a way that is organic, not necessarily choreographed. There's no routine or anything to it. It's about, I guess, a lot of the times following the threads of how we're feeling, whether there's tension in our body, whether there's a thought, an emotion, a sensation, and moving as that thought, feeling, sensation. And naturally just letting our body guide us in that way to move, as a way of shifting that energy, shifting that feeling, actually being with it instead of avoiding it or numbing it. So I do a lot of movement practices in that way. And it's something that, I do recommend, I suppose, through the feminine embodiment coaching frameworks that I use. And it's such a I don't want to say simple, because it can be very foreign for someone to move their body in that way, especially when you're so disconnected from your body, to just be like, just move your body, like whatever feels good. So it can not be simple in that way, but
Yes.
but it's also about just starting to increase and create and cultivate internal safety within the body, because for someone who hasn't ever felt connected to their body, to then just jump straight into it and say, do this, can feel like a threat to them, basically. So it can be a very slow, gentle process, of course. Especially if you're new to that way of moving and that style of coaching and being. So, but yeah, movement's definitely a big one.
Yeah, beautiful. Why do you think so many of us are so disconnected from our bodies, like particularly mothers? I'm curious to hear your take on this.
I mean, I can speak from my personal experience, of course. And I think even just our generation in general, I find a lot of us probably weren't, quote unquote, allowed to have big feelings and things when we were younger. So we're so conditioned to ignoring the signals our body's trying to tell us, and we're not connected with that part of ourselves. And it's very much so for women, for girls, especially as girls. You know, it's like, well, what's the saying about children? I'm gonna muck it up. It's about something about being seen but not heard.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly it. Children should be seen, not heard, and it's just so ridiculous.
And like my kids are very loud.
Yeah, everyone can hear my kids too. Don't worry.
Anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a side note, but yes, it's that whole conditioning around, and be the good girl.
Yes.
And I know for me, growing up, it was very much about being the peacekeeper, like just shuffling things or sweeping things under the rug, not being allowed to be angry or express ourselves in that way, in a healthy way, of course, not a destructive way. But we weren't taught that, and our parents wouldn't have been taught that either. So they didn't have the tools to be able to support us in that. So it's not a blame thing, of course. But yeah, I think especially for women of our generation, a lot of us were probably conditioned that way and have that sort of, we're told that as children. I know I was. So to then come into motherhood, and I mean, it's interesting. I used to always say I'm such a patient person, and then I had kids and you're like, wow, like this has just shaken me to my core.
Absolutely.
It just really highlights so much stuff that we probably just suppressed and pushed down over our lifetime and up until that point. And then we realized, I know for me, I was like, holy shit. Sorry, I hope I'm not allowed to say that. I am so out of touch with my emotions, and then you play back things in your life and I'm like, that makes sense now. Or, you see those patterns a lot more clearly. Motherhood just kind of shines a light on it. I know it has for me. So I think, that's, my personal opinion on why so many mothers and women, especially in this our generation, what am I? I think I'm a millennial. And probably Gen Y prior to us. We just weren't taught how to be in our bodies and with our emotions. And I think even and this is just something that I've learned a lot more on and understand a lot more, even like with our cycles and things being, it was such a like, don't tell people about that. Again, like ignore your body's signals, like don't share that. So again, it's just all these different messages we've gotten over our lifetime into adulthood as women, as girls, that just have played out. And I know for me, it's just been such a beautiful and messy at times.
They go hand in hand though, right? The mess leads to the beauty, I find. That's my opinion.
That's right. Experience to connect with my body again and just have that awareness. And yes, we all kind of lapse at times and can revert to old patterns and ignore what our body's trying to tell us. I'm a big one. And again, I'm definitely getting better at this. Like when I'm sick, it's just like push on through, soldier on, like that type of masculine mentality that all of us have probably heard at some point or another in our lives. And now it's like, no, if I'm just going to push myself into the ground and probably be worse. So again, like just starting to understand and be aware of what our body is trying to tell us, and be with our feelings. And, you know, it's all well and good to say feel your feelings, but again, like I was saying before, it can be such a slow process to be able to do that. You can't just kind of jump in to the deep end, so to speak, when it's something that you've never had the opportunity to experience and to lean into before. It's really, the safety piece is a huge one as well, and something that I am very big on when it comes to working with mothers as well.
Yeah, it's so true. The conditioning, isn't it? And then it's such an unlearning to relearn, like you said, just honoring sort of whatever is coming up for you, the good, the bad, and just being able to recognize and be with that. One thing I've heard talked a lot about recently is mom rage. And like, I don't wish that on anyone, but I'm glad it's being spoken about, because it's definitely something that, like, okay, you know, we're allowed to have emotions with moms because our kids have big feelings, which sometimes, like you said, can be triggers for our big feelings, triggers that we probably didn't have before. So these are things that we didn't have to manage in the same way. But if you can actually recognize it, that it's coming up for you, then you can learn how to manage it, right? You can be in your body. You can start to recognize those cues and figure out how to deal with it from there. But you have to learn how to be with yourself to recognize it before you get to that, you know, explosion rage stage as well.
Yeah. And I mean, mum rage is something definitely I speak to a lot, and it is something that I have experienced myself. And it's actually still really hard to talk about, because there is such guilt and shame wrapped around that. But it is so important to speak to. And because everything is a message for us, I feel, and it's, you know, our body's way of letting us know that, not that something's wrong, but like it's just signaling something to us. And I know for me, it's often due to overstimulation.
Oh yeah. Yes.
You know, a big one for me, like my eldest, he's kind of getting into the preteen years, and he's got the attitude to go with it. And it's like that, you know, talking back to me and all of that, like that. And I know that that's a huge trigger for me.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, the beauty in that is that, you know, once we have this awareness and once we can understand our triggers a lot more, we can start to do something about it. And look, it's not, we all have our moments, don't get me wrong.
It's not about perfection, right?
Exactly. Progress over perfection always. But and it's definitely something that I've had support with myself by different, you know, therapists and mentors over my time. Because it is something, like I said, there's so much shame around it and guilt. And, you know, I know for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, have I completely screwed my kids up? And you go through this like spiral, you know. But one thing I always say, and am a huge believer in, is the repair after rupture. And it's something that, no matter how big or small I might flip out or whatever it is, like I always will make the time to talk to my kids about it afterwards and apologize and let them, you know, especially my eldest, who's at the age where, you know, you can have a full-blown conversation with him and, you know, in age-appropriate language, no matter what age your child is, and, you know, apologize. And that teaches our kids like self-responsibility and accountability. And that is, you know, even though it's not ideal to flip your lid and all of that, but it's still, you're modeling to your kids that it's okay to make mistakes and that there are ways that we can repair and reconnect after that. So I'm so huge on that. If it's one thing I always say, I'm like, at least do this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's so important because we're not going to get it right all the time. Sometimes it is so overstimulating. And as much as I love, you know, learning how to regulate my nervous system and using those things in difficult time, sometimes you know, we're not perfect. Sometimes I still snap, I still yell, I feel like crap afterwards. And but then it's going back, holding that space for them, apologizing. And it sets such a good example for them too. Like I'm never happy that that's what's occurred. But like you said, it's about the repair. And you show them that it's okay not to be perfect. And like you said, we can come back from that, I think is really important.
Yeah. And I think another big thing for me is when I notice that I'm starting to get into like more snappiness, like I'll notice, I'm like, what have I actually done for myself today? Like, And often it's like, nothing. I literally got up and just hit the ground running for my day, and no wonder I'm like on edge.
Yeah. And that's learning those signals too, not making it about other people. Sometimes it is, but coming back to yourself and be like, wait, this is the same as what was happening yesterday and I could handle it. Why? What's going on within me? When you can check in with yourself like that and have that awareness, it's so powerful.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, and I guess I'm not sure. I can't remember what else you said about mum rage. If there was another question within that, but I think, yeah, for me, like I was saying, there was the overstimulation piece, not prioritizing my needs, and another thing is my mind is usually elsewhere. Like I'm not being present. Like I find that as well when I'm just like, oh, quick, I got to do this, or like it's just like going through the to-do list without really actually being present with my kids. And then when I notice, I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm so not even here right now. And it's no wonder that my kid's asking me for something, or, the noise is starting to just agitate me. So I do find that's another not reason, but another thing when I do start to feel like I'm getting to that sort of tipping point is because I just have been elsewhere for the day, like present but not present.
Yeah, no, that's a really good tip. It's easy to do with the mental load that we carry, but like, yeah, you can have that time with your kids and come back to those things later because they'll no doubt still be there. Another thing you spoke about that you do in your work is help women come into their wisdom and their intuition. And I think that's so important for motherhood for a couple reasons, because I think you need your intuition more around your own children. Um, and it's building that trust within yourself. So I love that you're helping moms with that. What sort of tools do you use to help moms start to find their own wisdom within themselves?
Within the feminine embodiment framework, I mean, there's lots of different tools, and it often just will depend on what the client comes to you with. But again, it's really just starting to slowly start to tune in with the body in terms of it could be a physical sensation, like, okay, let's just close your eyes and just be with the body. What physical sensations are coming up? It might be like, I've got a sore neck, like it could be just be that. It could just be like, it might be the thoughts that you're having. It could be an emotion that you're feeling. So just really starting to come into the body that way, and just notice the different sensations and thoughts and feelings that you're having. And also bringing awareness to the breath. That's a huge one. When we start to just, our breath can really help us to drop deeper into the body, as I'm sure you can appreciate and know. So yeah, the breath, and then just really just being with any sort of sensation. And for someone who, yeah, might find that difficult, like I said, it can just be like, I feel an itch in my right elbow or whatever, it's just really just starting to bring that awareness, like increase your awareness of your body, even if it's like an external sensation, physical sensation, and just slowly starting to deepen that and lean into the edges of that without sort of jumping in head first if it's something that's new. And yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different tools within what I do, from how we can work through limiting beliefs to liberating ourselves in different ways, to what are some of the other techniques, how we can lean into pleasure more even. And that's something that I've really enjoyed playing with myself in more recent times. And how we can start to use magnetism more and magnetism, what's the other term? That's manifestation. That's another one that's they're often kind of interchangeably used. But yeah, it really does just start with cultivating that internal safety through awareness, the breath, and just noticing the different things that are happening within us.
Because those signals we often miss when we're, like you said, when we're checked out elsewhere and you're not in touch with your body. It's your body's telling you, it's giving you those signals. If you slow down and start to listen and recognize them, It's pretty powerful.
It is, yeah. And it can just be even like noticing how fast are you breathing or how slow are you breathing without the need to change it, or like your heart, like can you notice your heart beating, like how fast or slow is it beating? So there's, lots of different ways that we can start to slowly draw our attention inward and bring our attention inward, without overloading our system if it's super new to us. And and so we're just safely and gently building that and reconnecting with ourselves.
Oh, that's so beautiful. With your coaching work, using these frameworks and your music therapy and all the other modalities that you use, what sort of transformations do you see in women? Like, what would you say a typical woman looks like when she starts with you? And then what's that transformation by the time she's finished with you?
I think just, yeah, having a deeper understanding of self, and I think confidence is a big one. And I see lots of mums come in whose confidence is so shaken, and to be able to step out of that feeling like empowered and like they've got the confidence to not only be able to show up in motherhood how they want, but just within themselves, and really starting to find more pleasure. And I use pleasure. Pleasure can be joy. Pleasure can be feeling alive. It's not always, doesn't have to have a sexual connotation to it, but feeling more pleasure and joy in motherhood and life. And because, yeah, some of us, I see so many mums just feel so, what's the word? I'm thinking bogged down, but it's just like so depleted and just so like overwhelmed and just lacking that spark for life, I think, when you just feel so in it. So just coming out, like feeling like that little bit of spark and confidence and joy in life again, and in how they show up as motherhood's probably the biggest transformation I see. And sometimes that can be, you can see that just after one session. And I think that's such power of coming back into the body and starting to really just trust yourself again. I think as mums, when we bombarded with so much, especially with social media and all the advice and, the tips and the tricks, and a lot of them are great, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for it, but it can feel overwhelming. And then we can often then feel like we're failing because we're not able to keep up with it all, and B, we then start to not trust our own intuition and our own selves. And because each child and each family unit is different and unique. So it's also about, what works for you and that type of thing as well.
Yes. That's where that intuition piece comes in, doesn't it? And really feeling into like, this works even between your different kids, what works for one kid isn't right for another. Yeah, that's such a big piece. Oh, I love that. I love that confidence. Yeah. And I think that comes from, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that bogged down sort of feeling, lack of spark that a lot of mothers have is just losing ourselves within motherhood, like that lack of identity outside of that role. I've definitely had times in motherhood where I'm like, I don't know who I am out of changing diapers at the moment. Like when you're just so in a difficult season, even, you're going to come out of it, but it can be really difficult. So I think coming back into your body, rediscovering your identity, like who you are, what lights you up, really helps with that confidence. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. And I know that within myself and my own experience, just in terms of probably more so over the last couple of years, like from starting this feminine embodiment coaching to rediscovering dance again, like all of these things have been huge. And I've worked with mentors and things as well, but they've had such profound impact on how I relate to myself as a woman, especially outside of the mother, and then the confidence I have within myself, and even just how that then flows into how I show up as a mother. So yes, 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I love that. The transformation sounds so beautiful. I think so many of us can relate to that, those feelings. And yeah, needing that sparkle back. It can definitely take a bit of time, and it's different with each kid. I feel like second baby has taken me a lot longer to find that spark again, so there's definitely ways to find it again. Before we wrap up, I'm just going to ask 3 questions that I ask every guest. So one is, what's one piece of advice you'd give yourself in your first pregnancy?
Oh my goodness. That was a long time ago, but I probably, actually in my first pregnancy, definitely, and said this word earlier, would have been to surrender. I really struggled with control over my body, and it was very different second pregnancy because I had a very different relationship to my body then, but I really struggled with like something's taking over my body and I'm changing, and that was something I really struggled with. So it'd just be like, just like surrender and let go and just enjoy this experience, because I felt like I didn't enjoy it as much as I maybe could have because I was so focused on like my body's changing and all of this type of thing.
Yeah, but it is a new, like, first pregnancy. It's like nothing we've ever experienced before, right? And then what's one piece of advice you'd give yourself as a new mom? So in that newborn phase, so either with your first or second baby.
Lean on help. Yeah. I don't think I did it enough. And again, I think that's my own hyper independence, maybe. Yeah, and I mean, it was difficult my second pregnancy because it was COVID times, but yeah, ask for help when you need it, definitely.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, we're not meant to do it alone. Definitely not. And then what's one thing our listeners can do today to improve their well-being? If you had to just give one tip.
Oh, there's a lot in my mind right now, but I'm going to say this because I did a mantra about this it was only on Monday this week. Pause and breathe in motherhood. Like when times feel chaotic and even you're starting to notice you're getting tense and all of that, just pause and breathe. Pause and breathe. Like it's such a powerful mantra that you can say to yourself and physically actually do as well.
Yeah, that's the word I was going to use too. It's such a powerful tool. When you learn your breath and how to come into that and regulate your nervous system, you can drop into that anytime. And it's needed. It's absolutely needed sometimes.
Yeah. And actually another thing is move your body. Of course, move your body every day in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so important too. And how can our listeners work with you? If anything you've really said has resonated with anyone, they want to find you, where can they find you? How can they work with you?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram at Monique Bathis, MoniqueBathis. I am actually in the middle of putting together a new program for the year. So it's not launched yet, but it's going to be all around supporting mothers to shift from overwhelm and mum rage into more pleasure and aliveness and joy in motherhood and life. So that's it kind of in a nutshell. I'm still doing lots of talks at the minute. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll be sharing all updates on that on my Instagram. I do facilitate in-person women's circles here in Brisbane, Australia, if you are in the area. I haven't released dates yet this year, but I usually do 2 to 3 a year. Again, stay tuned. It's only January and it's been a busy few weeks with school holidays, so I'm still organising my year. But there are things coming up. So yeah, just connect with me, follow me on Instagram, and all the updates will be on there.
Beautiful. Well, I can't wait to see your program and the events that you hold this year. They sound amazing. And thank you so much for being here today. I've loved our conversation.
Oh, thanks, Charlotte. I've loved being here, and I look forward to staying connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope you found inspiration and empowerment in this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd be so grateful if you could share it with another mom who could use a little extra support or encouragement. By sharing, you're helping us build a community of strong, empowered mamas who are thriving in motherhood together. If you have a moment, please leave a quick review and rating. It really helps more moms like you find the show and feel supported on their journey. For more simple and transformative practices, come connect with me on Instagram at mama_time_yoga. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit follow so you never miss an episode. And until next time, take care of yourself, Mama. You've got this.